Good morning, friends. Welcome back to another Wellness Wednesday. I wanted to talk a little bit today about some observations and some things I'm going to do moving forward because of my recent diet changes. I talked last week about how shocked I continue to be with the foods that I can tolerate again. If you guys have followed me for a while, you know that I had cut down my diet pretty dramatically to what I called a ketovore diet, very much animal-based because meat is the main thing that I could eat without having digestive symptoms, bloating, and all that kind of stuff. And I had really cut down on the vegetables. I found that if I were to eat a salad or Brussels sprouts or broccoli or something like that, I had a lot of digestive pain. And because of my iron issues, I went down the path of treating SIBO, and that's small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And so far, the iron issues have not resolved, but a bonus is that all of a sudden I can tolerate a lot more foods, specifically plant foods, that I had kind of just written off as something I would never be able to eat again. This definitely didn't happen overnight. So I have done 2 rounds of antimicrobials for the SIBO. It often takes more than 1 round to really get it under control. I remember on my first round, and I did some videos about this, I did a video entitled, "I'm Ready to Get Off the Roller Coaster." At the end of that round, I had so many digestive issues. I felt like the supplements I was taking were giving me digestive issues, or maybe another way to say it is they were having an effect on my gut, and everything was kind of in upheaval at that point. And I was just having, digestive issues to everything I was eating. And there was like almost no rhyme or reason to it. And that's why I kind of connected it to the supplements themselves. So I had to go through all of that. That was like 6 weeks of dealing with that. My second round, I had some digestive issues, not as much as the first. And then it hasn't been until like a few weeks after finishing the second round that I just kind of started noticing that I wasn't having as many digestive issues to certain things. I've talked about how I have salads as a treat. Like if I'm going to go out to eat or something, it's like getting a salad is really exciting and special. And before I do it knowing that I was going to have some digestive issues, that night or the next day. And so I would still do those kinds of special treat things and then notice I'm not having any issues afterwards. I had a salad, I fully expected to feel bad later, and I just didn't. And so, like I said last week, I just started to experiment with different foods, different vegetables, and am finding just that I tolerate things so much better now. So that has really put me into a place where I need to work on my diet again. I have been working for years to figure out what foods I tolerate and which ones I don't, and just a way to eat to make me feel my best. And I had found that with the issues that I had, and now that those issues are getting better, I'm finding that I have to work on my diet again and try things out again and figure it out again. Because just because I can tolerate certain foods digestively doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that I want to add to my everyday diet, from now on. So it's been kind of fun just getting to recreate my diet again. But one thing that I was noticing that I really want to address is that I feel like I am eating less protein than I was. And protein has been a huge piece in my food journey. Discovering how important protein is for me to feel my best was a huge game changer in my diet, because I had totally written off keto after trying a very high fat, lower protein version of keto that was, the thing back in the day when keto was first named keto, before it was Atkins or low carb. When it actually got the name keto, the 80%, at least 75 to 80% fat was the thing, and protein was kind of lumped in with carbohydrates as something you really, really have to limit. And so I tried that. I tried really, really hard on that and found that I had no satiety whatsoever. I could eat fat, by the bucket full and never feel full. And I had written off keto because I thought that the problem was that I needed carbs at that time. And so I went through, trying to add in carbs and never really learning how to coexist with carbs well. Looking back now, I think it's probably because I've had SIBO for all of that time. And so that's why a part of the reason that I didn't tolerate carbs well then. But then it wasn't until carnivore became popular and I started hearing stories of people going zero carb, but not limiting protein, that I was like, maybe I could try the low carb thing again. I had totally written off low carb thinking that I needed carbs, but looking back, I think what I really needed, what was more important than adding carbs back in, was more protein. And since I had limited my vegetables and carbohydrates so dramatically because of the digestive issues, it was really, really easy for me to eat plenty of protein. And without trying, I was eating the right amount of protein for my body. I could even eat, more than I probably needed pretty easily because meat and protein were the main foods in my diet. But now that I'm experimenting with eating some more vegetables and eating more salads, I'm finding, just intuitively, I haven't been tracking, but I'm finding that it's really easy for me to eat a lot less meat than I was. And I don't want to go down the path of lower protein again. I want to make sure that I keep my protein at least 100 grams of protein per day and up to like 150 or so. And I don't want to slip into, enjoying all these new foods that I haven't had in a long time and letting the protein slide. And I'm also finding that if I do keep my protein to where it's supposed to be, I really can't eat a lot of the other foods. I can't just eat a giant salad with protein because I won't eat enough protein. It'll fill me up too much. So I'm kind of having to relearn how to incorporate other foods into my diet while still keeping the protein as the priority. So because of all this, I decided that I am going to start tracking my food for a little while again, just to get an idea of, when I just eat to hunger, of the foods that I want to eat, how much protein am I eating? And I have done this before when I was eating my diet, my more restricted diet as far as, vegetables go. And it was no problem. It's like I tracked for a while and found that it was really easy to eat the right amount of protein. And so I just didn't need to track because I was able to do it easily. Now I'm like, since I'm relearning, I'm going to track for a little while and get back to the place where it's easy to keep my protein where it's supposed to be while still incorporating these other new foods. And that's really how I like to use tracking. Some people love to track and it's like just part of their daily routine and they're going to track their food for the rest of their life and they enjoy it. A lot of people don't necessarily want to commit to that, forever. And for myself, I just find it's unnecessary at a certain point, but I don't want to just completely write it off as a tool because I don't need to do it all the time. It is appropriate and helpful for me to do for periods of time like this, where things are changing, I'm readjusting, I want to make sure that my nutrients are where, macronutrients and micronutrients are where I want them to be. And then you use it as a tool to, figure out and get the information that you need. And then at some point, you get to a place where you don't need that tool anymore. So that's what I'm planning on doing. I'm going to just start tracking on Carb Manager. That's what I like to use. It's easy. It's intuitive. I've been using it for a while now. So I have, all my recipes and different favorite foods and stuff in there. So it's super easy and quick. And I'm just going to keep an eye on things for a little bit. Just make sure I'm not letting the veggies and other fun foods like push the protein out too much. Just keep everything in balance and just use the tool. And then hopefully in, a few weeks or a month, I'll have it kind of figured out, and then I won't have to continue to track after that. Let me know if you are a tracker, if you're like just a lifelong tracker, or if you use tracking as a tool. I know there's some people also that just can't even abide tracking at all. It can be a trigger if you've had restrictive diet history in your past, stuff like that. So let's chat down in the comments, and I'll just see you again in another video.